Welcome to Dark Side of the Moon.
Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Vincent Green.
I'm your host, Noel John Toohey.
We got Karen Mack in the back, and this is Dark Side of the Moon. Let's get this show on the road, motherfuckers. All right, Noel, we've come back with a very special episode and coming to the end of our Phase One series. We have got the Avengers assembled, and what we've done is assembled some of our own Avengers, and that is Roman Sandquist, who I didn't know until yesterday was definitely Swedish. From Mr. Goodbeer Podcast.
What's up, guys?
And Baish Benford from Return to Critics, coming back from the last 2 episodes ago. You were on here, Baish, weren't you, for tour?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Loving himself.
What's going on, fellas?
We tore that ass up.
Did. Yummy.
So, boys, I'm going to fire to you first, Baish. What was your initial expectations for Avengers when it was coming out after seeing the previous Marvel movies that were released?
I thought it was going to be good. I think it was going to be great. It exceeded my expectations just because the way they put everybody on the screen. I think they put way too much onus on Iron Man, and that continued a trend going forward. But on that first movie, I think pretty much, for me, it was Iron Man assemble.
Yeah.
That's actually
pretty much what it was for me.
Yeah.
It was Iron Man assemble everybody else. Even I guess you could even say it was Iron Man in Loki's movie.
Yeah.
And everyone else was just there for either comic relief or to put that extra little punch in there.
Kind of like Will Smith in the first Suicide Squad. It was like Will Smith and the Suicide Squad. Was there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Tony Stark and the Avengers. It's like a bad band or something. Yeah. How about you, Roman?
You know, considering what was before it, in the first phase of the MCU, I was more than happy with what they did, dude, bringing everybody together and getting them all in there. And I felt that the screen time was pretty shared throughout the whole fucking thing. Yeah. So you didn't get too, I see what Baish is saying, Tony drove the movie, but there was still more than enough space, dude. You got Captain America finding the Hydra weapons in the back of the fucking thing. Nick Fury's whole little being an ass.
Hawkeye getting taken over. Hawkeye got some good action. Yeah.
Hawkeye was killing people right at the beginning for Loki, just kill. And he's one of the only Avengers that just kills like that.
Yeah. Yeah, he was just
that's the thing about bows and arrows, isn't it, though? Because if you're shooting at a motherfucker, you're going to kill him or you're going to miss him.
That's the thing. Missing is in the missing is in the thing.
It's in his thing. Because if he misses, he won't be there. Yeah. How about you? Right. Were you expecting much?
I tell you, I was excited. I was hanging out with Mel a lot of the time. Our friend Mel is a huge film fan.
Mel McCarthy, shout out.
Yeah, and he went absolutely. He was all over it. And he even watched the Super Bowl, which is at some bonkers time here, just for the ads at halftime that was going to show some sneak peek preview of Avengers. That's how excited he was, and that just bled into me. So I was excited, and it did exceed my expectations because I was loving it, and then the New York scene happened, and I'm like, oh my god! Because there was now there's been a couple of films like that. There's been Endgame and stuff, but at the time, the scale of that, nothing we had seen.
McDonald's, is it?
I have no idea what you just said.
I started talking about McDonald's. I was like, so no, you're a funny point, whatever. McDonald's slogans, right?
And it got an extra star for me. It got an extra star for me for just that scene where puny God. That's just one of the best scenes I think even now, where he just beats them up and starts beating them into the mark.
What annoys me about all these superhero movies is I could be a guy that throws flames, I could be a guy that throws ice or whatever the fuck. It doesn't seem to really harm people. Agent Coulson shoots a gun that was based on the Destroyer technology at Loki directly, 6 feet away. And he's like, oh, that's what it does. Yeah. And Loki's clothes aren't even damaged. You know what I mean? I hate that kind of shit. It annoys me in the Arrowverse. The guy, Ray McCrory, he has a flamethrower. And he's aiming at people, but fire seems to shove them away instead of setting them on fire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm going to run in flames. Let's see if it blows me away or if I'm going to be on fire in a few minutes. You know what I mean? That fucking annoys the shit out of me every fucking time. But so Noel, when you looked at this movie, were you happy with the lineup? Because Marvel at this time had fuck all rights to their extended universe. In terms of Spider-Man, the X-Men, Fantastic Four, all that will come later. Were you happy with all of the inclusions of Hawkeye, Black Widow, Hulk, Captain America, Iron Man?
It's the classic lineup.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a classic lineup, you
They
know.
were very lucky, weren't they, in a way, that the heroes that had available to them were the classic lineup of the Avengers.
Yeah,
You know
absolutely.
what I mean? Because people saw them as B-level characters for the most part, but you know what I mean? People that knew comics understood what was leading to it, you know?
The amount of foresight, you could see that they had a lot of foresight by the time Avengers came together, and now looking at it from like inside of Phase 4 is just incredible. But that, I don't know, it still tracks. It reminds me of just being giddy. And it set the standard, I think, which DC still now, a decade plus later, still hasn't reached.
Still felt comic booky.
Yes.
The way the movies don't now.
It was colourful, you know, it felt colourful and vibrant.
Their uniforms and stuff, it just looked, it had a feel of more comic booky. Like it kind of fed into the generation that helped bring the MCU into its thing. You know what I mean? Like, because we all read this, it was still there, dude. Now they're a little bit like their suits look seriously real. Where there's still like lots of bright colors, even though it's a little, you know, it's almost real, but I think it still felt like it was comic booky, which is another big sell for me on that.
Yeah. Do you think as well, because when you have someone like Steve Rogers, who's a pivotal part of the movie, because he is newly frozen from the 40s, and he still retains that kind of 1940s kind of mentality throughout that movie, and maybe even a little bit into Age of Ultron, even with his aesthetics, that you kind of have this kind of throwback at times to the old comic book eras, because the modernization of Steve Rogers kind of also led to the modernization of the MCU characters as a whole, you know?
Right.
Yeah. It's craziness. Did you say that DC hasn't caught up yet?
I don't think so. I don't think DC has had their moment. I think I love the Snyder Cut, but like Avengers felt like the MCU had arrived. Like, here you go. Like,
something like you never seen before.
Interacting. Here's a universe. They're bouncing off each other. Hulk knows Captain America, knows Iron Man, knows Black Widow, etc. And now you have something to build on. There's bad guys. There's Thanos in the end cut after credit scene. And I just don't think DCU has had in film, in stop, and what's the word I'm looking for? Not animation. What do you call it? Live action. I don't think they've arrived. I don't think they've arrived yet. Yeah. So I stand by that.
I don't think DC is going that way. I don't think DC is going to go the way. I think they messed up by trying to follow Marvel's plan. I think, and there's no reason to follow their plan. And I don't think you need to have look at like the Batman. Once that goes on, once those tickets go on sale, they're going to sell out like Spider-Man did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It's going to be crazy. Black Adam. And not just because I'm, up the Rock's ass.
You love the Rock.
I love the Rock. I think that's going to sell out.
You want to be in his
I
Rock
think there
bottom.
isn't. Yeah. I don't think there's going to be a DC movie that comes along that's going to incorporate what Disney did or Marvel did, trying to put everybody together. I think it's going to be this person's movie, and you might have like 3 or 4 people in there. Flashpoint's going to be dipping in and out of people's universes. So that might be that, but I don't think you're going to get that, aesthetic of like having the Hulk and everybody Avengers, assembled type thing.
Yeah.
I think DC is where it's supposed to be now. I think we're talking like after they did the Whedon cut, then no. But now I think DC is where it's supposed to be.
Okay, I actually take your point. So let me rephrase what I said. Justice League hasn't arrived.
No. Okay, I'll give that one.
Yeah, but so I concede to your point, but the Justice League hasn't arrived. But you're absolutely right. Like, Batman is still a shit hot property, and Flashpoint is a lot of hype. But
I think the thing with Batman is I don't think it will have astronomical numbers first week, because I think a lot of people are going to sit back and see what the initial reactions are before they go and see it.
Cautious optimism. I know.
I'll go and see it, and of course, a lot of people will go and see it. But I think it'll do well in its first week, but not like the way Spider-Man did. I think maybe it'll do better gradually. It'll make money over time more than the way Spider-Man made money very quickly. That kind of way. I can see that for the Batman.
Remains to be seen.
Like the Batman. Now I'm here.
That's it, living in the COVID era and wearing masks all the time, just showing you what shitty fucking disguises people have. Because you just like, we're covering half our face and everybody instantly knows who you are. Even people like you haven't seen since school and shit. They just go, oh, hey, how's it going, man? And you're like, covering half your face is not a disguise.
Yeah, I just never.
Spider-Man has a fucking disguise, you know.
Yeah, man, I never understood about Batman. Like, dude, you're a billionaire, but yet you don't have a vice muggle here, just like to change that. To like, well, you're just going to deepen shit. What? You lose all your money on the batarangs? Like, what's going on, dude?
If I was Bruce Wayne, I'd go, hi everybody, I'm Bruce Wayne. Yeah, no, I'm great. No, excuse me, I'm great. I'm related business. Because so I could say my like gravity voice.
This is Batman slander.
Batman slander. No, that's what I mean. I saved my deep gravity voice for my Batman. You know?
No, Roman. No sparkly Batman. Don't do that.
I think he looks better as Batman than he did as Bruce Wayne, Robert Pattinson. In what I've seen, he looks kind of gothy as fucking like emo Bruce Wayne.
Batman looks really good.
He's Batman.
Well, it's because they are going. It's because they are going like year 2.
Yeah,
it's not. Everybody thought it was year 1. It's year 2. So Batman's not, Batman yet. He's skinny. He's like wiry, kind of like
he's young
Roman
as well.
Yeah, it could almost be like an extension of the Gotham TV show.
Yeah,
like a couple years after that guy was.
Yeah, it's like 20. I think it's like 26 or 27.
I think the villains were shit, but I like the progression of Batman.
The progression of Batman in that show was really good. Yeah. It was a really good backstory.
The villains were crap, though.
I stopped watching that show when there was a balloon episode where everybody started going up with weather balloons and could see the flat Earth.
Flat Gotham for life.
It's fucking perfect.
Holy shit.
I stopped watching. I don't know who the bad guy was supposed to be, and I know my DC, but like, is there a balloon man or something? I don't know, but it was fucking stupid. And then I just went, no, I'm not into it, man. I'm not into it.
So we seem to be covering enough of Batman.
Thanks for coming on to talk to us about Batman, guys.
So the Batman segment of the Avengers is over.
Anyway, you know what I really liked with Avengers? I think Hawkeye was like a real dark character. A lot like
This fucking guy could feed.
No, but Hawkeye kills.
Yeah, Hawkeye kills. I like it.
He's even more badass.
Yeah.
Hold on.
But that's it. You see stuff like a point that Vinny didn't make about, like, you see people getting hit by Thor's hammer and surviving it. Like, and it's fair enough if it's Hulk.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of like what's survivable. Sometimes I think, do you ever notice like in the later Avenger films, sometimes are those people dead? As in like Age of Ultron, Captain America comes through the window, throws his shield, it hits like 5 or 6 people. That's vibranium thrown by a man as strong as 10 men. Throwing at you as hard as you can. So I assume you're dead.
Thank you. My opinion about the Mjolnir is that the hammer, like that should explode through motherfuckers. Like, you know what I mean?
It shouldn't even stop.
Yeah, exactly. It should only stop when Thor calls it back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a god tier. It's a god tier weapon.
Literally.
It's literally a god tier weapon. Yeah.
But
I don't know.
We talked about the heroes now. I was just going to say, Baish, what did you make of Loki? Kind of be, I know Thanos. We see now that he's kind of becoming more gradually the overarching villain for the entirety of the MCU. But in this, Loki's kind of like his, what do they call it, a prophet. So he's kind of like his emissary that he's come in and he's going to lead the army with the Chitauri. First of all, what do you make of Loki as the central antagonist for the Avengers movie? Did you see it coming with the previous movies? And what did you know about the Chitauri going in?
I don't really know much about the Chitauri going in. For me, it was kind of like those. Like after reading up on it, I kind of saw them as it's a Power Ranger reference, but the putties.
Yeah.
Are just there to just hundreds of thousands of them just to attack. Yeah, right. Loki being the villain is awesome because Loki has that Iron Man kind of swag to him where he feels like he's better than everybody else.
Yeah.
But like his shit don't stink, and when he's walking around, you can just feel that air about him. And it's not like, oh well, you hate this guy, you like this guy because he's walking like that. Yeah. And it's like, even though he was the villain, I'm sitting there like,
and full villain, okay. Like, not like hero, ultimate good cause. Pure villain. I'm
like cheering for Loki to like come out of this and somehow get like a little bit of a win.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Like, just because he played the role so well and him as a villain was so good. Like I knew Thanos was going to be the baddie. Yeah. Like he was going to be the main one. But I enjoyed watching Loki step through and be who he was. Yeah. It was a great stepping stone for him.
Do you like pretty much because Loki he won for 3/4 of the movie technically? Yeah, like you know what I mean. Yeah. Like every single trap he set up worked perfectly, up until the point that he kills Phil Coulson. Pretty much, isn't it? Like, because he actually gave them something to unify over. Because that was the problem. They were,
even Iron Man stopped kind of like, being Iron Man. Yeah, he stopped that.
Well, you could feel the evil in what Tom Hiddleston's eyes when he played Loki for those roles. Like when he was like scanning the dude's eyes, and everybody's terrified, and the way he's just looking at everybody, just smiling, like he nailed that fucking role. Dude. Loki was villain, like he was 100%.
And comic booky, again, comic book.
Once again, dude,
green,
like,
tall,
the big horns,
big horns. It was.
What's in the part in Stuttgart though, that's kind of the part where you see Loki, what he really, really wanted from it. Like he's like, this is what I want. I wanted to be feared. He doesn't even want to be loved anymore. He just wants to be feared, because at first all about in Thor Part 1, Loki just wants to be loved. And pretty much that's it. He just wants to be loved and accepted in the way Thor was with
God tier daddy issues.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Like, fairness, he was kidnapped and lied to. He has his reasons, but you know what I mean? But in this, it was all about like fear, and in that scene with Stuttgart, like you said, Roman, where he's like sheer delight, where he's just like fucking taking that dude's eye out, that's one that, you'll never see that in a Marvel movie nowadays. Like you'll never see this is where Marvel movies are still kind of dark. You know what I mean? Like because a lot of the violence now seems to be more implied.
Or the darkness is a social commentary of some sort of description. Which it's right. It makes it heavy. It gives it heavy content. But it's not like dark as in just people dying. You know what I mean? It's not. Yeah,
he killed 80 people in 2 days.
Exactly. Yeah.
Go to Germany and make your crowd kneel in front of you.
Yeah. Man, it's amazing. Like,
I mean, that's just, that on there on its own is another fucking thing too. Like, dude, right in the middle of Germany. Yeah.
What did you make of Captain America's arrival into the modern age in a lot of ways, Roman, in this scene against Loki when he's the Stuttgart?
Well, that's the perfect way to get Captain America back in the spot. You know what I mean? It works perfectly for this movie because he hadn't done anything other than like beat on the sandbags so far and climb in the plane. He hadn't seen him at all. Like,
he defeated the sandbag.
Imagine that,
I was always
bagging him up.
The thing that drove me is like, why the fuck did he take the last one with him? I never understood that. Is he taking it home?
That's what I didn't get either.
Like, what the fuck's
why did he
going
take
on there? Like, why do you take that one, throw it over his shoulder, and walk it just to flex?
Yeah,
I can't carry this back out.
I think he's like
7 of them laying there
in the back. It would have been amazing if the next scene was him in the back of the scene getting his debrief in the jet, and he's just like, I really wanted to fuck her. She was gorgeous. I really wanted to fuck her. Motherfucker, fucking freeze me. Fucking
2 hours later, Loki just gets hit with a head of sandbag. That's one.
Right. Imperfect.
Deleted scene.
Deleted scene right there. Yeah. But you can't. I don't think. I think you could critique this movie, and you should, but I don't think anyone could come out and say, "Well, that was a bad movie. That was badly structured. That was badly executed. It wasn't entertaining. It wasn't funny. It didn't have." I thought it had the balance of everything I want from a kind of, I don't know, a superhero film experience for sure. I thought it was a really well balanced film. I thought it set the standard. Maybe not for DC because we got into that with Baish, but it definitely set the standard for Marvel.
Yeah, but I think it set the wrong standard for Marvel. So I get what you're saying. Like everything was kind of dark before that movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't crazy like over the top dark like DC dark, but it was still dark. And then like people were dying, stuff. There was consequences, and then the first Avenger movie happened, and there was kind of some consequences, but I think that was Marvel's like dip into the kiddie pond. Like, let's make sure like we don't have that big of stakes. Let's not show blood really anymore.
Yeah.
Let's keep everything super colorful and family oriented and yay.
Yeah.
That's something that irritated me about it.
Well, absolutely. But that's
Marvel.
Yeah, that's the dollar sign that point.
Yeah,
there's Disney, dude. Everybody needs to be able to check into this movie at the theater.
Yeah.
I don't care how old they are. I want them to pay for it. Get in.
I'd love it.
DC, I don't think doesn't go that route.
I love the way it's described because I don't know if you've ever read Marvel Zombies and stuff. It's like crazy dark, absolutely twisted, perverse even. But I'd love if they just said like a standalone universe just for adults, because Deadpool proved that you could do this shit. You could make bank on.
Mm-hmm.
You really, really can.
Yeah.
Logan.
Logan. Oh, yeah,
I love
absolutely.
that
That was fantastic. That's an excellent example. Old Man Wolverine in the comics, the Hulks had taken over. It was absolutely really, really dark. And
Oh, dude, that was fucking dark.
that
as
was
fuck.
dark as fuck.
that
And it
comic
doesn't
was
need to be
crazy.
on the scale of Avengers. You don't need to literally tear apart New York City. You don't need that kind of budget. Don't get me wrong, you need a budget and a half. Not quite there. And you could make your money back. And it's all about, if you spend 10, you get back 20. It's the same as spending 200 and getting back 400. It's investment and return. That's all it is. And,
Right.
That's what I'd love to see. That's just me speaking in fantasy land. But there is a lot of dark material in Marvel. And you're right.
Which that's what if is for, though, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it doesn't equate back to what we got in Avengers.
True.
Avengers wasn't upsetting. Maybe that was the one thing you want from an action film, is to be a bit upsetting. I don't remember, even when Coulson died, I wasn't really upset.
Right.
You knew somebody had to die. You knew somebody was going to,
yeah.
like something was going to happen. Like, it was either going to be the girl on the bridge. I forgot her name. Can't remember her name right now. But, like, it was either going to be her
Black
or
Widow.
Coulson, because you knew it wasn't going to be Fury. You knew it wasn't going to be Fury.
Maria Hill.
Maria Hill.
Yeah.
So to me, it was like, for me, even watching them, I'm like, oh, okay, they need something to bring them together.
It's the ensign that goes down on the Enterprise in the 60s, isn't it? You know, it's Riker,
it's the red shirt.
Spock and the red
Fucking
shirt.
red shirt.
Yeah. So Coulson became red shirt, like. Not tertiary. Anyone but tertiary.
What would you prefer to see in someone bigger getting killed? No.
No, actually, to be honest with you, I don't. I think it's just a good point on the fact that it was the bare minimum of, like, it had to have stakes. It had to have the loss of life. It had to have it. And
Because there was already people that died.
yeah, but technically in the New York scene, tens of thousands of people died, but it's all implied and unseen.
Yeah, isn't it kind of like what comes back to us now? And we were talking about Armageddon.
Always.
It's like when you see it's all about, like, you know, when Paris gets taken out by a comet, you feel nothing when you watch Armageddon, but when you see Bruce Willis die at the end, because you know that character,
You feel
it lands
terrible.
home more, you know, that kind of way.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like they always say, like, was it like if you kill one person, it's a tragedy. If you kill a million, it's the statistic.
Yeah.
I think I am quoting Stalin.
These are great. These are great.
I think the Batman segue wasn't bad. It's Stalin segue.
Sounds like some flat Earth shit.
Flat Stalin.
I didn't. That's, oh my God. Don't get me started on that dude.
But, like, how about you, Baish? Would you prefer to see someone more getting killed than Phil Coulson?
And operative on the
For
word
me-
scene, because I know lots of people died. I mean, scene, you know?
Yeah. For me, it was just more of a point, like, you know, like Vinny said, like, a shitload of people died. He killed a bunch of people that should have brought them together to a point, like, all these people are dying. Coulson just dying should just been another dude dying. You know what I mean? Like, just, for me, but that's my point. Like,
planted the fucking cards.
It's because they knew it.
Exactly.
Yeah. But then he's locker, sir.
but for me, it was, I guess if you need something to bring you together, I guess Coulson's death was better than anyone else's, because he was someone that you liked.
Yeah.
And, like, he came across good even in the Iron Man movies. So I guess him dying created, you know, the Avengers. I would have liked to see him in other movies after, but, you know.
He was in Captain Marvel.
Yeah, because that was it. Yeah.
The Avengers,
Yeah,
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Agents of
I
S.H.I.E.L.D.
watched some of that. That wasn't half bad.
Yeah, I watched all of it apart from the last season. After
The most
Winter
consistent. Sorry, man. I was about to say the most consistent thing in Marvel is death not really meaning shit. you know, Jean
That's the
Grey
comic book
alone has
trope,
died
isn't it?
like 12 times or something, and now she's like a version of her from the past brought to the present, and
Doesn't
the
it
present
ruin it,
version
though?
of it.
Doesn't
Yeah,
it?
of course. Where's the stakes?
Yeah, it's like the Arrowverse. Lazarus Pit. Lazarus Pit. I was like, oh wait, someone died.
Back to Batman.
Yeah.
Everything goes back to Batman.
Oh my God.
Told you.
Yeah. There's no escape.
Yeah. That's why, you know, you go look at something like Saving Private Ryan, the opening scene of that was brutality.
Yeah.
That was
that was
absolute
brutal.
insane
That's how the
brutality.
Battle of New York should have been, though. Like, fucking,
Yeah.
like, if I could love to see, like, the stakes in terms of reality, like, as you said, like, if you have that magnitude of power coming in on a civilian urbanized area where it's so tight knit, especially Manhattan, it's like one of the most overpopulated areas in the world, isn't it? Like, for terms of landmass, like, it's
They
ridiculous.
started knocking buildings down.
Yeah.
As soon as buildings started falling, like, you know how many deaths.
Independence Day did it well, even. Do you remember that? You know, like the laser hits, people are driving, but everyone's in a traffic jam, so nobody's moving, people start running. Yeah. It's too late. Blame. You don't even need to see like the gratuitousness of it. But you got that feeling of I prefer to, but you get that feeling of hopelessness and despair. Jesus. Yeah. But I think they could have done a bit more the Independence Day route. That was a good film for sure. Remember the people partying on the roof and that epic scene where the spaceship just opens up and just takes them all out.
We're so happy. Yeah. We're so happy you're here.
Yeah, exactly. Damn. Like the most dead characters in cinema history. Like,
oh my god,
spread to the winds. Lazarus Pit.
That's a lot of dust collection there. You're going to need dust bunny first. You're going to need dust bunny, man. But man, no, I think like I don't know how this. I don't understand this thing where it's like it's okay to die in a building collapsing, or it's okay to die in an explosion, but you can't see a motherfucker getting his stomach exploded. You know what I mean? Like, like when the hammer, the Thor's hammer hits you, you should go right through people. Like, and I don't understand that. Like, you should really see the force where it just knocks people over. Could Thor not just do that if he runs at them?
But that's it. It's what you see. If a building falls and the kid beside you in the cinema says, "Oh, is there loads of people in that building?" You could say, "No, but don't worry about it."
Yes, Tommy, there is. It's full of people. This is the raw. This is what happens.
There are 3,000 from top to bottom people in this building, dude. And if half of it comes down, you can guarantee that probably 1,000 people will die.
Like one of them, his name is Billy. He had dreams, man. He had dreams.
Billy! Like the Battle of New York, there's a part where like a chunk of a building falls. There's a whole crowd of people. There's a hot dog stand. All of the people don't get missed. Hits the hot dog stand. Like, I'm like, come on. Come on. Every one of them would die. Every single one of them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, like, fuck's sake. That like, if anything, like, you know, when we've seen these kind of disasters or buildings collapsing around the world, like, we've seen what happens. Like, you know what I mean? It's fucking chaos.
The reality of it, yeah.
Yeah, there's no debris on the streets, or there's no ramifications from the debris at all. The building falls, like, it's just a chunk falls over. It never breaks apart. There's no dust.
The Avengers kind of, now that you think about it, the Avengers kind of make a couple of jokes, like, kind of during all this, even though, like, hundreds of thousands of people are probably dying. Like, what, like, Scarlet Johansson, Black Widow's kind of like, yeah, go ahead, it'll be fun. Or, like, Hulk, smash, or something like that. You know,
Hulk smash, and he starts, like, using buildings as weapons.
Yeah, that was some of the Hulk guys.
Throwing people out.
It softened the Hulk. I think they softened the Hulk that point forward. I thought that was the Hulk at his best.
No, from Ultron.
That was the best Hulk.
But see, that's my point. That's my point. That movie was everybody at the height of being kind of not R-rated, but like PG-13.
On the verge age.
And then, and then after that, it was, hey, let's go PG, let's go, you know, school daycare type stuff.
Let's go that he can't turn into the Hulk. There's no Hulk at all. No, let's go let's go.
Let's have an Iron Man movie with 42 suits, but Iron Man only uses one of them.
Right?
It's like, fuck you, Shane Black, fuck you. Motherfucker.
He made a film, Shane Black made a good film, and I watched it. It has Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling in it. I can't face this.
The Nice Guys. The Nice Guys.
The Nice Guys.
That was actually a good movie. I watched it, I was like, oh,
good.
Shane Black made a good movie.
It was good.
No, he's made some good movies, just not recently.
Yeah.
You know.
If you take out, if there was enough violence in Avengers, let's just say that we were all satisfied and none of us critiqued, what would be the weakest point then? Let's just say that the darkness.
No, I'm pretty sure there's a segment in the next part of the show that covers that.
Oh, God damn it. Excuse me for trying to keep it going. Jesus Christ.
These are good.
What are you eating?
Doritos, no?
No. My wife made me a charcuterie board last night.
Fancy.
So I'm eating the what's left of it right now.
What's a charcuterie board?
It's like cheese.
It's like cheeses and fucking bunches of meat. And like there's crackers on there and like candy and shit and nuts. It's just delicious. I'm like, wait. Shut up, Roman. I can't. You know, I don't
delicious. I'm giving it to you, dude. Throw some fruit on that motherfucker too, though.
Oh, there's fruit. There was fruit too.
Okay, good.
So I had some salty nuts. I did say that. And, some grapes and some other stuff. It's like a huge thing of meat. I'll send Vinny a pic. And then, because, you know,
he's always taunting me.
he still didn't give me his stuff for his social media because I'm not in his realm yet. So, it's all right. He told me that last time. He's like, I get you on social media, but I just haven't yet. He just like disregarded me like I wasn't in.
You talking about me?
No, he's talking about me.
Right, yeah.
Sorry, that's just Vinny's natural response to everything.
Yeah.
It's probably about me.
No, I'm not shit. Someone's angry. It's definitely happening.
Unless you believe the Earth is flat, no.
Hashtag flat Earth, flat truth. Flat truth. That's all I'm saying.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, failed actor.
Cool story, bro. Amazing.
The guy's gonna hunt you guys down.
Oh God, yeah,
no, man, and I'd be behind a raisin.
You can't find me without GPS, man.
Oh shit!
God.
Whatever, dude. I'd talk to that guy anytime. He was a blast.
Yeah, man, he was fucking amazing, man. He hated me, but I loved him.
I would have just said, "Hey, have you ever taken a plane or a boat? Just keep going. Just keep going.
Indefinitely keep going. See what happens." Yeah.
Hey, Roman, did you know anything about the Chitauri going into this? Because like they're totally fucking new to me.
No, I didn't really remember much about Chitauri at all, dude. It was all new there, dude. Even the beginning kind of threw me off, where the dude's walking up the stairs and it's all out in space and stuff. I mean, I knew it was kind of going that way, but who the fuck they were and where the Chitauri army came from, I didn't know.
They were a punching bag.
What did you think of their the way that they fly stuff with their face? Like what the fuck's up with that? Like,
dude, I don't know, man.
It's like we have a steering wheel. I know, Joe would be great. We just remove the steering wheel and I just put my face in there.
Your head in it and fly it like that.
I don't know what you're knocking at. That just sounds awesome to me. If I could just like sit in the car and just kind of look at which way I wanted to go. You know?
Like he's like, they have a hard time banking. Yeah, because their face is in the steering wheel.
It goes the way you look, and you just kind of like sigh to make it slow down.
He's going around, he sneezes.
That is true. Hey, if you sneeze while you're driving, you're fucked.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Right?
Man,
if you cough, you're done.
Man, I have this theory. Like, if you're in, like, there's so many situations, one sneeze away from death. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're on the top of a ladder. Like, you know what I mean? If you sneeze, game over. Like, you know, man, if you're like looking down the barrel of a gun,
because you're about to kill yourself, you sneeze, you're gone.
Yeah, they're right.
Is that like called assisted suicide then?
It's a good way to look at
it. But what do you make of the design of the Chitauri apart from them driving their gliders with their face, Roman? The big fucking eel thing and stuff.
I don't know, dude. I don't know where the fuck they came from, dude, but it worked. I guess it's an explanation to be able to move worms through the streets. Or fucking
their wings weren't big enough to hold it.
You know what I mean? Like, dude, like it worked perfectly, so that the Avengers could keep it into a small area. I guess. So, like, I mean, the design of the enemy was good, or the protest, and they like. Especially because you knew they weren't going to last.
Yeah.
Like, even their ship, dude. Like, when they blew up the ship, I've never seen another ship in that style at all so far. Like, and there's a few different ships around now, for sure.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing you can have fun with, especially if they're kind of like, they're basically faceless, nameless. They don't get any lines. They don't matter. You can kill them in absolute trouble. That's what we're talking about when you talk about the lack of violence and stuff. You forget that. Oh, yeah. Like, we seen these guys getting skewered and blowing up and thrown, but they were so, it didn't matter. Like, buddies from Power Rangers, that's actually a really good way of putting it. They were just like one Avenger versus 200 of them Avenger every time.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like, they were great for action, but like, no.
So we should have seen the hammer fly through those guys.
Like, absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
Could you
why
imagine
didn't you see the hammer fly through them?
Could you imagine at the end of the battle if Steve Rogers throws his Chitauri over his shoulder to bring home? Like, he doesn't punch him back and he just like walks off.
Yeah, I know. But that's it. They did. They were there to make up the numbers. They allowed for a lot of action. But they weren't. And they were designed, again, if they were like human soldiers or something, you probably have to have them scream or give them a line or you probably couldn't have as much kind of violence, because now that you think about it, that was the uber violence of it. They didn't bleed red. I'm not sure if they were like half cybernetic or...
Did they even bleed at all?
I don't know. That's the thing. I can't remember. I was so indifferent to them. It was just like you see...
It was like blue.
Yeah.
It was like blue blood on
shield,
it.
but like you never really saw them like...
Could you imagine
lose their blood? It was just there
for no apparent reason. Just have a side story where it's like a Chitauri and he's just at home with his family. And he gets called up. He gets drafted against his will, and he's like, "You're gonna have to fight in the Earth Wars." And he's like, "I can't. My family. Oh, and he brings in like his family gets in the internment camp. Yeah.
Conscientious to not conscientious.
And he gets there immediately, just like straight away, and he's flying through, and all of a sudden he just sees Thor on the top of like the Empire State Building, and he
just has a locket around his neck. It's just another
for my family.
And he just kind of like closes his eyes because he knows what's coming next, and then it's just over. Yeah, that
and he clutches the locket.
Or the picture of the locket is a big Chitauri and a little Chitauri. You just know from that.
As he's coming through, you see the static lifted the locket off his chest.
Yeah. Now there's your Dark Marvel movie. There's your Dark Marvel. Oh yeah, do you remember that? What was it, Austin Powers, or the first one? Whatever that first movie was called, and it was like, he was killed by an ill-tempered mutated sea bass.
International Man of Mystery.
Yeah, and then it goes to his best man party, and fucking they get a call, and they're told that he's dead. He gets to call the wife.
Yeah. Was that one the henchman as well? Is that in part 2 where he gets like steam?
Yeah, and what's the name of Rob Lowe? What's the name of the handsome bastard?
Rob Lowe, you just said it.
Yeah, is it Rob Lowe? Yeah, it was him. He's at the best man's party. He goes, I just got a phone call. Ben's dead. Or the guy in front of the roller coaster, or the steamroller. Get out of the way!
Oh, he's like,
no!
Man, those fucking movies are amazing in their time, though.
You know what the problem is with some movies that are really funny? If they're really quotable, they just suddenly wake up one day and it's the least funny thing in the world to you.
They wear on you.
They wear on you, as opposed to films that just kind of have set pieces and they're funny, but they're not exactly quotable.
They're sound bites.
Yeah, it's just like nobody can say, "Do I make you horny now?" It's not exactly eliciting jokes. It's very, very 1996, and they can say
shagadelic baby.
Shagadelic baby, yeah. And that's the Austin Powers segment.
No, what?
Still better than the Stalin segment.
I enjoy the Stalin segment, man, it's for the people, So I know
he just went into the Stalin section because he was Russian.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Quit Stalin.
Mute Noel.
Come on, we must go.
Come on, march on.
No, what did you take of Loki as the villain and the Chitauri as well as the kind of overarching henchman?
Yeah, I'm just sticking with Baish. I don't know when I don't have anything better. The Putties just sums it up really, really nicely.
No, that was Roman. Oh no, that was Baish.
That was Baish, yeah. And they just their names, their faces, and they show you how absolutely badass whoever, just pick an Avenger. That Avenger is like they were killing them in their throws, but they did set up the action and did set up the scale. So for that, you have to give them props. Loki, 10 out of 10, absolutely everything. He was funny. He was dark. He was.
Is this Tom Hiddleston at his best as Loki? Would you say?
I think so. Yeah, I think they overcomplicated his character. Like Loki now, they've gone so high concept. And they've made him reflect on himself and admit to his mistakes, and they've made him soft and they show all this kind of stuff. No, this was Tom Hiddleston at his best. Even at the very end when he's defeated and he looks up and Hawkeye's got an arrow pointed at him, he goes, "I think I'll have that drink now." He still had that kind of almost James Bondish kind of like charm, a bit of swagger and a little bit of something about him. Yeah, no, I loved him. I absolutely loved him. And he opened the door for a bigger villain as opposed to like just not really counting. And like he said, he wasn't just a play setter for Thanos. He builds up to Thanos, but he Like he made a stamp on the MCU straight away.
Do you think, I'll throw this question to you, Baish, do you think that Marvel always set out to have Loki become an anti-hero? Or do you think it was like the old wrestling kind of trope where a villain became so cool that he became so popular that he ended up becoming an anti-hero? And do you think because of Tom Hiddleston's portrayal of Loki, you see his role drastically change in the MCU as the MCU has progressed through Phase 1 through 4, whatever?
I think the best way I can coincide Loki and Tom Hiddleston is Stone Cold.
Yeah.
Stone Cold was somebody who was put in WWE to be a villain. Because he got over because he stepped into it. Hiddleston said when he didn't get Thor and he got Loki, he put everything into it. Oh, yeah. So it was more or less like once an actor puts his personality into the role, like the role gets 10 times better.
Yeah.
So him becoming Loki was just, he was Loki. He is Loki.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't recast him. And get that same kind of like greatness out of it.
No.
Just like with, Iron Man. You couldn't really recast him because people still know, Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
Would you say Tom Hiddleston's portrayal of Loki is probably even more iconic than like Chris Hemsworth as Thor? He's eclipsed his main character.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because when you think of Thor, you think of Loki.
Yeah.
Then you think of Thor.
When I think of Thor, I actually think Chris Hemsworth is fantastic. When I think of Thor, I think handsome, buff and stuff like that. I could imagine a world where somebody steps into the role and Chris Hemsworth maybe like James Bond, like you say, oh no, Sean Connery all the way, but I've nothing against Roger Moore or anything like that. But you would just say that Tom Hiddleston owns Loki. I agree with Baish there. Oh, I don't care who's your favorite. I just use James Bond as a placeholder.
Well, no, but you said Thor. What'd you say?
I just think Thor is more replaceable. You have to get a sexy buff dude. That's it.
Yeah, well, I think at the start
you got it, man. You're my thought.
No, I think at the start, what you say is true, that you could have gotten anyone to step into that role of Thor if they had that physique about them. But as it's gone on, like Loki has, Tom Hiddleston has bled into the role, Chris Hemsworth has bled into the role, and Thor is unrecognizable from Thor in Part 1 as he is in Thor Ragnarok, because he's Chris Hemsworth more in Ragnarok and in the Avengers movies goes along, because they realized, oh wait, this guy isn't just a big muscly dude. He's actually funny. He's got chops. You know what I mean? So like, I think
you could say, he got used to modern day, and that's why he doesn't talk like it's the 1500s and fair maiden and all that kind of shit. Because he was very, what is all this?
And he stopped bleaching his eyebrows.
Which is probably a good way to go. Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Well, if you got some grey eyebrows there hiding underneath some just for men.
I'm gonna bleach half of it.
There you go. Just do like a stripe right through it. Wesley Snipes will do that. So Noel, what would you do? What are we talking about?
Avengers Assemble. On occasion, we get back to Avengers Assemble.
All I can remember is Wesley Snipes. I was like, what was I talking about?
I'll ask you a quick question. How did you think about Loki? Considering we've all had a little say about it. What was your take?
I love Tom Hiddleston's Loki. As
you even from private conversation, I've always been a big fan of Tom Hiddleston.
He slipped into that role immediately, whereas Chris Hemsworth grew into the role of Thor. And Tom Hiddleston was Loki,
like a warm bath. He just arrived.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so it's kind of like when Heath Ledger was Joker. He just slipped into the role immediately. There was no growing pains. It was like he was made for the role.
Jesus, yeah.
Yeah. So it was. So
that's the nth degree right there.
Yeah.
Heath Ledger.
Yeah, I think what Marvel do time and time again is to constantly cast the right people for the right role, and even if they have to take 2 movies to grow into the role, because of the serialized nature of the MCU, they get that time to grow, whereas you wouldn't really in many other franchises, because they'll be like, Fast and Furious is out every 3 or 4 years or whatever. But an MCU movie, if you don't have a Loki TV series, you can still be in a Thor movie. You can still appear in an Avengers movie. So even though you're not making like Loki movies all the time or whatever, Tom Hiddleston got to be Loki like every couple of years, every 2 years. And then he got to grow into the role, and he got to be all these different iterations where he's like, the tormented villain, and then he becomes the out-and-out villain in Avengers, and then he becomes the kind of grey area anti-hero and Thor.
He's everything. He's done the polarity now. He's done the polarity. Yeah.
You know, so I think it's just like the serialized nature of the MCU gives actors a chance to grow into roles. But because of him slipping into the roles so seamlessly, he's just been able to kind of bring that confidence or that ability to every iteration of the character. I think it's like 4 different iterations of Loki, if you want to count the timeline changing now with the TVA and all this stuff with the Loki miniseries. So I think he was probably the best thing about it in a lot of ways, because even though it was a lot of like what Baish said, Tony Stark and the Avengers kind of thing, like, but I think there was a singular villain, and a lot of these superhero movies, they're better when you have an ensemble heroes against a singular villain, because when you have a villain, you need to really flesh them out to really kind of sustain the storyline. Remember, we always spoke about months ago, weak villain often leads to a weak superhero movie. So I just think like the strength of Loki, or Tom Hiddleston in the role of Loki, in this was probably the backbone in a lot of ways, because if you have a weak villain, then it can kind of flounder a bit, and especially with an overstuffed movie with this, when you have to talk about Steve Rogers' place in the modern world, the new Tony Stark trying to accept the team environment, you know, you have to kind of hint at Natasha's backstory and her relationship with Clint Barton, and Clint Barton being turned, you know, so you have all these kind of moving parts, Thor coming back in his relationship with Loki. So I just think if like Loki was weak, then the movie would have sucked balls, or could have sucked balls, which is what we see many times.
Yeah.
So because he was strong, the movie was successful in a lot of ways, you know.
Yeah, a lot of strong monologues. You know, he had a strong monologue or whatever dialogue
Glorious
with Captain
Purpose.
America, Glorious Purpose. And he had a strong dialogue with Iron Man as well. So they even got to like, it was interpersonal. It wasn't just him from a general's table striking out at them and then one showdown at the end. It was very personal on a couple of occasions. So yeah, you're right. I think saying he's the backbone of the film is actually fair. I don't think I can argue with that at all.
Yeah, because I think that's the case, though, isn't it? A lot of superhero movies. Like, what do you think, Roman? Do you agree with us? Strong villain usually leads strong superhero movie. And oftentimes, the reason superhero movies are weak is because the villain in itself.
Not just superhero movies.
Yeah, actually, good point.
You know what I mean? You can make it a bit of a broader statement.
Like a James Bond movie.
Hans Gruber, or am I getting him after fucking up that name?
No, you're right. Yeah, Die Hard.
Absolutely phenomenal. Like everyone talks.
Rickman in that, dude.
Yeah,
he was killer in that fucking role.
He was
like,
so dark.
Die Hard without Alan Rickman. Like,
Oh my God,
no.
No, and Bruce Willis, I'm sure will be one of the first to admit that. Like that.
Kind of like in the way would Russia be Russia without Stalin. So it's all about the villain. To bring it back to the Stalin segment, you know what I mean? Nailed it.
Would Stalin have made a good Batman?
Too short. Yeah, I said it, Stalin. Yeah, I said it.
His parents were murdered down a dark alley under his orders.
That's good shit.
Yeah.
So,
well, no, a good villain. You need a good villain. You need a good villain to have a good.
Yeah,
like the villain almost has to surpass at a certain point than the antagonist.
Like Joker,
otherwise, it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, why you can make movies like Joker by itself, because that villain's so complex too, dude, and have like Loki's TVA series because it's so complex, dude, and they outlast the heroes that they're paired with.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they can move on a lot easier than like heroes heroes move on the same way, but like that one, if it's good enough, it can move on its own in a different direction. You know what I mean?
And sometimes heroes have to die because that's the thing. Then you've just got the ultimate marker, and that symbol, and they stand forever is the thing. But the bad guys often have to have a more complicated story, especially if they're going to redeem themselves, because that's a long road. Steve Rogers could die and just be great. You know what I mean? Like he was just the most. He was a Superman, he's the Boy Scout. Absolutely, from word one, day one till the end of his life, he was a Boy Scout. And then you have somebody like Loki again who has to work his way back, and that's more complicated and it's more relatable, which is kind of a weird thing to say, because I know you talk about the villains of these kind of universes, but like you're saying about the Joker, a lot of people could relate with some of the mundane monotony, frustration, financial and economical frustration, apathy that people face on a day-to-day basis. That is more relatable than a Boy Blue, somebody. Yeah, it just is. So I do think it makes for good storytelling, and Loki meant for good storytelling.
Right.
And what did you think of Thanos being uber purple in this? Who wants to take that question?
like fucking Barney, dude. Like Barney. I was looking at him, I was like, what is this? And I was like, why does he have a big ass fucking chew toy? What?
It was just a nice chair.
Right? It was a great chair. The chair was nice.
Chair, Yeah, I have to say that was a good teaser. You know what I mean? Like that's like, oh, Thanos, nice. Yeah.
Did you know much about Thanos from the comic books? No.
Huge amounts. Yeah, Thanos had already murdered half the universe to impress Lady Death, who I guess is the concept of Death. And he was a lot more evil, and that kind of Doctor Doom is in like Thanos doesn't talk about himself in the third person and all that kind of stuff. He's more out and out evil, but but Thanos was like Thanos and Galactus. They were the ones that you couldn't just walk into. You need to build up to. They are absolutely god tier threats. So yeah, I love Thanos. I kind of knew that they're going to build, because I knew they didn't have the rights to Galactus, because I assumed that would come with the Fantastic Four. So that the only big, huge bad left that would work, that would have bank, was Thanos. So yeah, I did. I was excited about it, but I didn't know when I'd see it. I didn't know if I'd see it 3 or 4 or 5 years afterwards. So just to have him flirt with the Avengers at the end of that was pretty cool.
How about you, Baish?
I knew about Thanos, Darkseid ripoff, but yeah,
he literally is though. That's what the guy said.
Yeah, he is. No, he is.
Yeah,
he is. But no, Thanos, like from reading like the comics, like I was getting excited when there was like a buzz about, okay, the big baddie that's going to be the person they're going to go after later on was going to be Thanos. So I was like, all right, cool. This is going to lead past like Civil War and other stuff. But then you know what happened there. But in this movie, Thanos being a big ass purple dinosaur at the end kind of like threw me off, because I was just like, hopefully this is like their first, like, okay, let's see how this tests. Yeah. Let's see how he looks here. And if we don't get positive return back, we'll switch him up and put the balls on his chin.
Yeah, but they lost the headgear. For example, they lost the headgear.
Yeah, the headgear.
That was a good move.
Yeah. Different actor played him here as well. Listen, I'll check his name. It wasn't Josh Brolin.
Was it not?
It wasn't Josh Brolin.
No, it wasn't.
I didn't know that, to be honest. No.
That dude must be pissed, though.
Jesus,
that dude, if I'm him, I'm so angry. He's just like, I had a 5-movie deal.
Oh,
what happened? You were too purple.
Yeah, you were too purple, man. That's like the Will Smith turning down the Matrix or something. You know, it's just.
Hey, he turned it down for the Wild Wild West. Come on now.
I know, right?
Hey, that was a smart move, because he got paid for the music video, he got paid for the music rights, he got paid for acting in the movie, and he got a director pay from the movie.
Oh yeah, well, Will Smith makes money. It was never going to be. I don't think Keanu Reeves made out like a bandit from Matrix as well, though.
Damien Poitier was the guy who played Thanos in this movie.
Yeah, and I have no idea who that is, and that dude played Thanos.
Yeah, but I heard he got pissed, like, because I guess his agent, like, this is weird, but his agent had missed a call for him to go back to reshoot scenes for the next movie where Thanos just showed up, but he wasn't like doing anything yet. He missed that call, and his agent didn't tell him.
Oh shit!
So Josh Brolin was the next person in line and got that call. So that dude missed out on all this Marvel money because he had a shit agent.
Oh god, that dude! That
hopefully has a new agent.
Jesus.
I would have been pissed.
Oh my god!
That's millions upon millions of dollars,
and not just the money you make just from that. Don't forget what status that puts you on. That's A-list celebrity. Yeah. You know, Josh Brolin was already well. If Josh Brolin had been Thanos, you know, he's been Cable. He's been busy, basically. He's been working.
Well, I mean, he's been around.
He got Cable from
exactly.
Yeah, but Josh Brolin you hadn't heard from for a while. Then he was Thanos. Yeah, then he was Cable.
He was Goonies and he was like Thanos there.
Yeah. Well, that is, he did Goonies, and then he was Thanos.
No Country for Old Men. No Country for Old Men.
Yeah, he was that too. Yeah. So Cario's better, but still good.
What do you think, Roman? What did you know about Thanos going in?
Well, I remember the whole Infinity, like the Infinity Gauntlet comic books. I had those things, and like I read them. I was excited for like Adam Warlock and shit to show up.
Where am I there?
And so. I like what they like. I'm still cool with how they went along with it, but there were so many missed opportunities of characters they could have already brought in that like are phenomenal, crazy characters, and it was all right. But I like Josh Brolin as the role, dude, and I knew what I wanted to see, and it didn't actually end up happening in the long run, but it was a good run.
Yeah,
it was a good run. Yeah.
And Noel, did I already ask you?
You already asked me, yeah? Well, I suppose I'll ask you, Ben. What was your knowledge on Thanos?
I didn't know fuck all about Thanos going in, to be honest with you. Like when he
You know
first
of
showed
him?
up. No, I knew
sure.
fuck all. I know
Really?
I
Okay,
knew
fair
fuck
enough.
all. Man, like I'm a big comic book dude, but like most of the comic books I read are not superhero comic books. Like most of the knowledge I have about superheroes when I was growing up was from cartoons that I watched because I didn't have comic books. So I used to like anything that appeared in the comic books, like the cartoons, like Galactus, Silver Surfer, all these dudes. I knew all this, the kind of more expanded stuff, X-Men, Spider-Man, all that stuff was in the cartoons. Right. But like my comic knowledge, most of that I grew when I got older. So I knew very little about Thanos growing in 10 years ago. And I still, like, most of the comics I read would be like Garth Ennis stuff, you know, Preacher, you know, Y, Last Man, Transmetropolitan.
Yeah, they're great, great comics.
Yeah, I just think I see so much superhero stuff through other mediums that when I get down to reading comic books, I like to see other kind of mediums or other genres play out. Like, I literally just read all the Outcast series, and that's about an exorcist, like, you know, and so, like, it's just some weird shit like that. I see so much superhero stuff through all the other mediums and the way I grew up. I just got used to maybe digesting it that way, that when it came to comic books, that I kind of wanted to use them to scratch another itch, like kind of high concept stuff or, you know, weird fucking horror, you know, that kind of thing, because you can really look at these illustrations and they're like, superhero stuff really does pop, like, don't get me wrong, but like some of that really kind of gory shit, like 30 Days a Night or The Walking Dead, that kind of grimy stuff that really kind of pops off the page to me, and that's more appealing.
Fair enough, yeah.
A lot of times.
God knows there's enough exposure to superhero stuff in so many formats now anyway,
Yeah, like the next thing I want to read in comic books is called Pestilence. It's like about medieval something, I don't know, like, well, it looks really cool. You know what I mean? It's just that, like, there's so many different things you can do with comic books, and there's so much superhero stuff out there right now. So, yeah, I just didn't know a lot about Thanos going in, to answer your question.
So, Ben, have you ever heard of Thanos? He goes, yeah, I was born in the summertime.
That's why you missed all my birthdays, I guess. So I was born in November. Whatever.
It was a simple life.
What did you make of like, because as Disney, like we call it the Disneyfication of MCU, like as it kind of went and expanded, like what did you think of these suits? Because this is something we always kind of nearly wrap up the first section, is like the aesthetics are so important in superhero movies, like the action, the aesthetics, the villains. These are all the kind of the big things. How they look, who they were fighting, why they were fighting. It's kind of the big questions in superhero movies. But like, Noel, what did you think of the design? Me and Roman were already talking a little bit about the old school Captain America suit and how that kind of carried forward and give that kind of comic booky look to it. What do you think?
Oh, I loved it. I absolutely thought, you know, the scene where they kind of do, I don't know if panoramic is the right word, but where they're all just kind of lined up and they just do, the camera goes once around. And I just remember thinking, I thought they got, there was not, because I think Hawkeye's gear would have been a bit too camp. There's gear that just doesn't translate. Like Iron Man, would, to the nth degree, does. He's a man inside a tank, you know, a suit of armor. Like, and Hulk, obviously, you know, it's simple enough, big, green, muscly. But I just remember that when they went around and went, yeah, I just think everybody looks on point. A little bit of classic Captain America, because he still, you know, again, the 1940s was a week ago to him, you know, and I thought, and Iron Man had the full suit, he was kind of coming down, like all blasters coming off, and I just thought, yeah, they've arrived. I just thought they got all these, like, how many Avengers? You got Thor, Captain America, Iron Man, Black Widow, and Hawkeye. That's 5. Who am I missing? Thor, Cap, Iron Man. Thor, Cap, Iron Man, Black Widow, Hulk. There you go. So it's a 6. Yeah. No, I thought they nailed off 6. I thought they nailed Loki. I like the fact that they went full camp with Loki. Because
Sorry, I was just going to say, what did you make of the remodel for the Hulk from the Ed Norton movie to the Mark Ruffalo era?
Yeah, I think you know, a lot of ways it was more simple. I remember just being so blown away with the Ed Norton first transformation, like the sinew in the muscle, like, you know what I mean, like the way he flex. It didn't look anything. No, it didn't actually look anything like. That's 100% true. But I just remember they put so much work into him. He looked absolutely. I thought when the first transformation in broad daylight in at the end of the movie, I'm always angry, and he goes and does his thing. I thought, you know what, simple. like it's more just simple. They kept the aesthetic of their actor and they expanded him and made him into the Hulk. And I thought they didn't put as much detail into the absolute, like the rippling biceps, the absolute fucking gargantuan nature of the
comic
Hulk.
booky look.
Yeah,
like Rome was saying.
Yeah. So I think that it was simple but effective. And God knows that, like, when he was jumping around the city tearing shit up, it just looked fantastic. So yeah, I think you'll prefer the Edward Norton look for the Hulk. It's more what you picture in your head, the actual Hulk. But I think they just said, look, let's just streamline it. Let's just make him a big, foreboding green monster, because that's what the Hulk is at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it was the first time too that they used motion capture to bring the Hulk to life as well.
Was it?
Yeah, I think so, because like before that it was always just CGI and actors. I'm nearly 100% sure Ed Norton do the mocap for.
Ang Lee did his Hulk, didn't he? He did his own.
Louis Leterrier directed that movie. Ang Lee did the Eric Bana one.
Right, yeah, the Eric Bana one was what I was talking about.
Where he made him fight giant poodles. Come on, dude.
God, that was.
Come on, dude.
That's an entire podcast.
Come on, guys.
In and of itself.
Well, so Noel, who did you think looked the best out of all of them? Like, do you think which one?
You know what? I know this is simple, but I just thought Hawkeye looked badass.
Yeah.
Turn the camera.
You know, just they had the trick arrows. He was in combat gear. The bow looked absolutely excellent, and he just looked like he was sleek and just ready to go. I don't know why. It was simple and straightforward. I just thought Hawkeye looked badass, and maybe it's because I'd seen Captain America, I'd seen Iron Man. And I'd seen, like, you know, Ed Norton's Hulk, I suppose you could say, but still, I just thought, yeah, he was sleek. And the trick arrows, I just thought everything about the Hawkeye thing was just so much fun. And you know, the arrow, he drops an arrow and he hits the ground, you think he's missed, and it just shoots bullets all around. Yeah. It's just a little sentry gun or something. Oh, I love that. I just thought that was the coolest looking. And then you're talking about impactful or something, it's a different conversation, I suppose, but just keep it simple. Who's the coolest looking for me? And I'll keep it simple. Hawkeye.
Yeah, how about you, Roman? What did you make of the kind of the look of the Avengers? I know we were talking a bit about, and who do you think?
I think Natasha looked great.
Yeah, she always does.
I forgot, like, the most beautiful woman ever.
Spot on.
Yeah.
It was spot on. Loved her in every scene. I thought fit the role perfectly.
Yeah, fit the suit perfectly too. You wearing a Rick and Morty t-shirt?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
I've actually got Pick a Rick on my wall over here.
I got Pick a Rick somewhere over here.
I'm wearing my Rick and Morty slippers. That's my Morty one is my right foot. Yeah, Rick on my left.
Nice.
So yeah.
Nice.
So, did you like the overall look of the Avengers, or what did you make of the new iteration? The whole Cap going back to his like old-fashioned suit. Iron Man's kind of new suit, because you know Iron Man's like a toy fucking horror. Every suit, every movie got
hugely,
so many suits. Every movie, like. So, what did you think, Roman, of like the overall kind of team, apart from Natasha looking fine?
They all fit the role well, man. Like, really, the suits all look good. Although the only thing, like, Iron Man's suit is just, it drives me crazy, is watching the progression of his tech.
Yeah. And
seeing the stage that he's in at this point. Yeah. I think to myself, dude, he would have been covered so much better once he advanced a little bit further than this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even if he just had 30 more suits sitting around to help him out. But you know, Hawkeye's suit was good. He's just another agent at this point, the same way you know Black Widow is, and they fit really well. Let's see, who else was it? The Hulk?
Yeah. What you making
compared to New Hulk? I liked it because it made it relatable to the actor.
Yeah,
because it looks like him. That's it. Like
it's the first time, wasn't it? Really. Like that,
like that. It really just looked like almost exactly like in a large size to him, because they used his face and shit for it, and he wore the suit to record the crap. So
he actually got to be the Hulk. You know, he actually got to be the Hulk.
Yeah.
He didn't play Bruce Banner at the Hulk.
Do you think because of Mark Ruffalo's success doing the mocap with the Hulk that we got to see Josh Brolin actually do the mocap for Thanos? And we didn't get a big CGI fucking Thanos. Like, I know we did, but like we got a mocap Thanos, and that just adds layers because the actor's there.
Same thing with what was it? Oh god damn it! In Deadpool, Colossus.
Oh yeah.
Colossus was one too, and it just makes the character look so much more real because they can reach down and grab it, and it's like full on. You know what I mean? But it has the right. I don't know how the balls work.
The tennis,
but you know what I mean?
Ball thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought we were talking about something different. You said how the balls work. I was like, we have changed subjects.
How about you, Baish? What did you think of the look of the Avengers before we get out here for the break?
I liked, for me, the best one I thought was Loki.
Yeah.
I liked his garbs. I liked,
you love villains, dude. You love villains.
Yeah. I love villains. But I like the way his garb looked like it was like he was, higher. Yeah. He came from Asgard, so he looked like.
But you're allowed to, wasn't he? If you'd gone with Hawkeye with purple spandexy, it wouldn't have worked. But
that would have been bad.
Loki allows himself that because of his size or whatever. Yeah.
Hawkeye being who he was, I think it's cool. I think his suit now, how it is now, is way better. Yeah. How it is now. Obviously, Black Widow, always,
Like she just fits that role so perfectly, though. You can't imagine anybody else.
For those who don't get the joke, Scarlett Johansson is very attractive.
Yeah, but no, it is actually not only that though. Like when you think about it, like you're like Tom Hiddleston's Loki, fucking Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark, Chris Evans, he's Steve Rogers, but Scarlett Johansson is Natasha. Like you just can't. Like she is hot as fuck. Like don't get me wrong, but like you just can't imagine anybody else.
Yeah, no, she did. Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's somebody that I didn't like their suit. Probably Nick Fury, but besides that, everybody else's suits were where it was supposed to be. Yeah, just
he turns. It must be exhausting.
But no, everyone's suit was good. I like the throwbacks to like Captain America and that kind of stuff. It's just I'm glad they changed Thanos' like headgear off, but everything else to me looked really good. Yeah. I mean, my favorite was Loki's. My least favorite was Nick Fury's.
Did you think Nick Fury just kind of looked too kind of run-of-the-mill Matrixy like?
Yeah,
I need to be covert, so I'm just going to wear a gigantic long coat, a gigantic collar, one milky eye, just blend into the crowd.
one patch eye. Like who doesn't notice a 6'4" black dude with one eye?
Yeah. Well, especially throw a trench coat on him. Nobody looks at giant one-eyed people with trench coats.
Yeah. You can say black people know. It's okay. I know you. I love
you. Oh, wait. Is Samuel L. Jackson black? Oh, you know what? Yeah. Now that you pointed it out when I think about it.
There's a C race.
I don't see it, you see.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The content of his character, I could tell you about.
Gotcha.
So for me, like when before we get fuck out here, like I thought like Steve Rogers looked completely comic book accurate, and I love the way he looked so out of place all the time. It kind of made him constantly wear the stars and stripes, even when everyone else is like changed out their gear. Like everybody else is like, because he's always Captain America at that stage, because that's all he's got left. You know what I mean? So like I loved Chris Evans' portrayal of Captain America and how he progressed throughout the movies. I thought he had probably the best character arc. How everyone, including Tony Stark, I think Steve Rogers had the best story, the best trilogy as well, and the way he was incorporated into the kind of movies. Apart from Age of Ultron, he's kind of a side character in that. But like apart from that, like I think his progression of the character is probably the best outside of Tony Stark. How he looked in this movie, I loved the suit, and I just loved how out of place he looked. And like constantly throughout his movies, he was like adapting to the times, and his suit was progressing throughout the different movies and shit. Like I think this is one of the last times we kind of saw a physical Iron Man suit as well, where like it wasn't always CGI. That sometimes Robert Downey Jr. looked like he was kind of actually wearing something, which I liked about the earlier Iron Man movies. I loved how clunky it looked when it wasn't in operation.
So did I, because it should be. It's moving gears and parts. You know what I mean? The whole thing is he was the invincible Iron Man. He wasn't supposed to be able to do. He was Spider-Man. Spider-Man's agile.
Yeah, it's Iron kind of a suit of armor.
It's a suit of armor. Yeah,
exactly. That's what I liked about the earlier Iron Man movies. Like I hate the nanotech. I hate stuff that you can clearly know that's not there really. Like I hate that shit. Like when I found out that they were like, oh, they're going to do Iron Spider, and everyone's like, oh, that's awesome. I'm like, yeah, but like we're not even going to have a Spider-Man suit now. Like, the most simplistic suit is supposed to be a dude in the fucking pajamas, and that was all CGI for 2.5 movies. I'm like,
I know,
you know what I mean? Like, I love the physical suits because And that's one of the reasons I like Captain America, because there's no way you can CGI that shit, like, you know what I mean? Because it just looks so stupid. But and I liked Hawkeye, Clint Barton, and Jeremy Renner, and I think it's another case of like Tom Hiddleston, where the actor is so good in the role that the role just kept getting meatier and meatier, and he's like one of the central focuses of Age of Ultron, even though a lot of people derived that as a kind of weaker of the Avengers movies in comparison to what came before and after. But he's like a kind of more of a pivotal character as it goes along throughout the movies, and even had his own miniseries now, like whatever. So I thought he was good in the movie as well, and Scarlett Johansson was awesome, and of course, because
Yeah.
So so like I just think they looked fucking awesome. Loki looked awesome. But like apart from that, like I just like the way we got to finally looking back after seeing all these movies and knowing how these characters progress. And it's really cool seeing them in this kind of starting iteration before they really, go against Thanos or everything goes time travel-y and interdimensional and multiversy. It was cool to see the first kind of major event include these characters in the world that they're included in or involved in or whatever. But so we get the fuck out of here and we come back after the break.
Yeah.
All right,
Take us through it.
This is Dark Side of the Moon. See you after the break. Now, word from our sponsors. Welcome back from the break. And so before we went to the break, we were talking about Avengers and Batman and Stalin and
Yeah. The description for this one should be fun.
Like all the hashtags, hashtag Stalin, hashtag
Hashtag Stalin cancelled?
Question mark.
He did some bad stuff.
He did some bad stuff, yeah.
He did some bad stuff.
I'm not trying to say a cancel culture, but Stalin.
Right, just to keep it in the realms of the superhero world, in comparison to Thanos, how would you rate Stalin?
It's like a 4.
Yeah,
It's like a 4.
Oh, amazing. So when we come back from the break, we always do 2 segments. We go what if, and then we do best and worst, and then we get the fuck out of here. In the what if section, we always say, what if you were the director? What would be the one thing you change about the movie we're talking about? We're talking about the Avengers right now. So I'm going to go with you, Baish, because you're more familiar, and I'll give Roman a chance to think about his answer. So Baish, what if you were the director of the Avengers? What would be the one thing you would have changed?
Make more scenes with Scarlett Johansson as naked. Or
It's an excellent
one
call.
scene. I give the people what they want.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
And this stone makes you invincible, but only your physical body. So when you get hit with the flamethrower,
Boom.
It's like, why are all my scenes in snow places? Boing!
What I changed about that movie, I think I would have just changed the whole point of like there being more emphasis on what they're destroying, like if they're killing people.
Yeah.
You're like the Avengers are worried about people dying.
Yeah.
Like not worried about like how we said before, Colston, dying, like put them together. You would think destruction brought them together. I think the way everything played out was good. The whole, puny god thing was like the jizz off at the end, where it was just like the movie was good, but then that put that little cherry on top to where you were just like,
Bruce Willis
oh,
been
okay,
dead
cool.
in Sixth Sense. It just not like
yeah,
nice.
it was that little
little nice moment. Yeah.
It's something because
I do like I've told like Roman before, I have a huge problem with movies that give you destruction the whole movie and then end off like beautifully.
Yeah.
Like it makes no sense. There shitloads of people died. It's a catastrophe.
They're eating in a cafe and stuff. Yeah,
they're just chilling. And you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fuck those people.
As in, that was
so for me,
literally 100 9/11s. Literally 100 9/11s. You know what I mean?
And it was just like, it's okay. So that's why my whole thing was like, I would have made more like stakes and stuff at the end of the movie to a point where you understood that the Avengers, by helping, they're destroying. So you're just like, you're happy about it, but
the actual gravity,
some kind of gravity.
The gravity of what actually happened. You think they should have delved into that, or at least felt, even if they didn't have to show the gratuitousness of it, it's still
They
wider
touched upon
story.
it a bit more on in Age of Ultron, so didn't they? Maybe they saw.
Yeah, but that was
They
more
do,
of
to be fair. But that was setting up
Yeah,
Civil
but that
War.
was-
That was just,
Yeah, that was to put the Civil War and the Accord to be signed. It had nothing to do with people actually giving a shit
Yeah.
if people died or not. It was just more of a push of like, here you go. This is why you need to sign this because you guys killed some people 4 years ago. So here you go.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I like, you always have to have like the correct ramifications. I think as Sylvester Stallone said that his major issue with the Marvel movies is is that it's violence without consequences, and the Rock just made a guest appearance. People can't see it, but it's like it's violence without consequence, and that's his major issue with the Marvel movies. But even though come from Sylvester Stallone, the guy who's wiped out most minorities around the world is Rambo. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's like pick your battles. You you did with Rambo against people that were far technologically against, you know what I mean? Like he's on horses. Rambo comes in with a fucking bah bah bah. No, but I'm like that too, and it's like I'm the same as well with Phil Coulson. You don't have to kill someone for them to care. They should give a shit because that's what makes them special. It's like Noel, what you said ages ago about when we were complaining about Aunt May being the one person that happened to be taking up that building in Spider-Man 2 by Doc Ock. That like Spider-Man should have to be Spider-Man. He's going to be Spider-Man no matter what. So you don't really need to add these really
there's
like
astronomical chances of this being the person that's in a city of 8 million people. Yeah,
like of all the people that died on that helicarrier, and they only cared about Phil Coulson's death, really, like because
absolutely,
knew him in passing. Like
it's a good, but it's a good point. It's a good point, Baish, and so it's one we've danced around. It's true, isn't it? That it wouldn't have, and you wouldn't have had to change it from PG to 18 to 60, whatever the hell the R rating I think is what we call it these days, would you? But you could, and to be honest with you, I think you put in stuff that could go over kids' heads. As in, something that I could bring my, if I had a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, it should be dialogue or a way of explaining things or a way of approaching things where it goes over the kid's head, but the adults can take it in. And sometimes you see that in films and it's done well. Because it doesn't scare the kid. You're not showing like the Babadook or some shit like that, but you're not Disneyfying it. You're not making it like.
Dude, I've heard the Babadook in like, dude, so long.
Really?
Beautiful.
I think it was the Babadook not talking at your last CPAC convention.
I don't think so.
No, I thought so. Seemed like everyone else was there.
Oh my god. But he's not wrong.
Oh shit, that was one that made me cry. That was good.
Can we leave that in?
That was good shit. Right. I'm done. That shit was funny. Oh, fuck.
All right, Finn, throw it to Roman.
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 I would have had the bomb go off in New York.
Yeah,
that's the one thing. If I was directing it, I would have changed. I would have had the bomb go off in New York. I would have had to level the whole place.
Like kill all the Avengers, or just like have them like
no, they would like be the only thing that survives out of it. Basically, what it comes down to, Well, I mean, the whole could probably be like ground zero, but I was thinking more like don't make it into space, but like before the almost detonated in air.
Yeah.
So maybe not necessarily completely devastate everything as bad as it would if it was, hitting the ground.
Aftershock.
Yeah.
And
just completely wipe out the town in another way and have them all blamed on it. And the only things left standing is fucking Stark Tower because it's got its internal power source. And just like, but because I think that would have hit on him twice as hard than his little whole responsibility kick afterwards after throwing the rocket into space that's like a wah for me kind of thing, dude. If it would have devastated hundreds of millions of lives right there, and his like beacon would have been his tower standing there bright as fuck, dude, while everything else done.
Or even like the Avengers Tower standing there while everything around it lies in ruin or something. It's a good optic for just it's a cool optic. Yeah.
I
would have wrecked that city. Like the directing wise, that's the only thing I would have changed. I would have seriously devastated that city.
I think that's the issue with these movies, though, isn't it? Because like they kind of like there is devastation, but they kind of hold back on showing what the real devastation would be. Like if you have a Hulk, you have a Steve Rogers, you have like someone like Tony Stark flying around this fucking Iron Man suit and he's blowing up these gigantic monsters. Like the devastation is real. Like, and then, like, you know what I mean? Like, so, like, you know, I'm totally with you that, like, I want it to be where they want to literally show it for what it really is. Or, like, they can't keep holding back because they show, like, all these kind of ground shots and they never really show you the aftermath after the battle. So I'm like you. I'm like,
no, they show you people holding the room to get away. When like half a building fell.
So what were those things called? Not swimming worm ship things.
I don't know what the fuck those things were called. How could they even fly? Their wings were tiny. Like I got a big issue with it.
But they didn't even fly. It was like the they swam through atmosphere or something. But you see them actually go through buildings. I mean, right through like. Let's just say there's 4 main pillars of the building. Completely devastates one, almost destroys another, and nobody is home. I mean, you're talking like the business center of the world.
Yeah, you know what I mean? in prime time.
It's the Chitauri Leviathan. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, actually, that's
Chitauri Leviathan. That's what it was.
Yeah, those are cool.
Yeah, no, I dug the kind of bioorganic kind of weird. I got that kind of thing where it's kind of like they look like they were half robotic, half organic. But like, if you're going to give me a design that's like this massive thing, at least explain how it's moving. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I just like when they're like it's swimming through the air. It's like hundreds of tons.
They were all hive minds too, because as soon as the ship blew up, dude, they all fucking.
I fucking hate that.
Right the fuck off.
I fucking hate that out. The whole hive mind shit, man, that wrecks my tits. Because like every time, like someone like it's like, oh, we just have to kill that one person. You know, that kind of way, like you just, I hate that. Like as soon as they got cut off from the portal, everyone dies. I prefer like you kill the portal, and now that's just the start of the war, really. You know what I mean? Like, and you could even have Chitauri breaking out and fucking, like, you know, breaking away from the hive mind, even like, you know, I don't know.
Here's where I'll disagree with you, because I thought the Chitauri were such a bitch boy, as in they worked literally just for that. Yeah. I'm like, look, as in you could just give me a shield, a Captain America, I run into it. They did it. You know what I mean? Like they did it. They had Captain America and R.I.P. Black Panther running in, and they're up against all these soldiers, but they're just dudes, strong, capable dudes, and they're just laying waste. You know what I mean? Like
in Infinity War.
Yeah. Was that Chitauri, or is that what? Like,
no, they were different.
No, that's Chitauri too.
Was it?
Is that Chitauri as well? Like in Wakanda, the battle in Wakanda.
That's there were Chitauri there, and there was other beings there too.
Yeah,
a bunch of huge. Like he had everything coming at them. So Chitauri was there too. But he is right. Like they were just beating the shit out of them. Like they were nuts. And those dog things were coming too. They were beating the shit out of them too. So.
And it wasn't just like Black Panther. It was like some of the, don't get me wrong, elite guard that Black Panther had. They were obviously fairly badass as well. But they weren't supposed to be Avengers level. They weren't supposed to be as big a threat as a Hulk or whatever. But still, laying waste. So they were just, to me, they were like cool, but they were a prop.
Just they come to a stage though where you're like, these like massive forces that these fucking arch villains deploy are so inept, and they're so like, you know, they can be laid to waste so quickly. When you wonder why the fuck they even have them in the forces in the first place. Like, how have they ever won a battle? Like, if the Chitauri could be dispatched that easily by 6 people, like even though there's 6 superheroes, how have they ever conquered universes and galaxies and planets?
Entire planets.
I think it's a mob. It's a mob mentality of them like
a
surrounding, and sometimes like the swarm coming, the horde coming. And if you're a general, you see that, you know, you're more focused on that than you are of a bald dude with balls for a chin, and then like his guard with him, his actual guard with him.
So quite
when they attack from the other side, you know, it's a blitzkrieg. Pretty much everybody coming from this side and they sneak around the back.
Then you think they're going nuclear, but they're actually going surgical. You know what I mean? Like, that kind of does.
What do you think? It's just a case of like just waves, just keep throwing waves at it, like, you know?
Yeah, just keep going and keep going and keep going, and after a while, like your people are tired, and naturally you bring in everybody else.
The team of the show, it shows to Stalin. Like it's what we do here. It's unexpected.
That's when Thanos was like going through the universe, taking over this guy, this guy, this.
Going from one like ethereal plane to the next, you know, just like never ending. Just moving on.
Crashing through the domes of every single place.
like so when you see like the portal breaking through the firmament and like and you see like the Chitauri just pouring in, but Yeah, so Noah, what would your what if be? And then I'll give mine, and then we'll move on to the last segment.
Okay, I suppose. Well, it's a bit of a tough question because I would have leaned straight away into what Baish was saying, as in the real world consequences of it would have just had a real world effect. It could have carried a heaviness without losing its rating. But I suppose if to not kind of like trace over all ground, I think I'll just say, well, it's a little bit tracing over the ground. I would like to let the weapons do what weapons should do. Immediately backtracking. But all right, like I mean, I think if you get if somebody, a god, he's as strong as 100 men easy, not Hulk strong, but as strong as 100 men, and he throws a god tier weapon, it devastates you, man. It tears through everything. Or if, like, you know, a guy with a 400 IQ builds a beam cannon, it obliterates absolutely everything in its path. So I would have liked, again, I get it had to be, but the Chitauri, they were allowed to cut through that. I think there was more room for a little bit more real world physics or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
right.
just the way shit happens, shit falls apart. I would have loved to see that, you know?
Mm.
And I don't think it would have been more costly because it was, you know what, that's the way I have to say I'm traipsing over ground, because it's obviously a ratings thing still. You know what I mean? Like, it's obviously still kind of a ratings thing. So I guess I'm going a little bit more surgical with Baish than an overall point. But I think, I would love to see, like, but then I would have loved it the other way. Just to see where, like, the Chitauri, they team up on Hulk and even ships, and they start bombarding them with these plasma laser kind of cannon things that they have, and they're hurting him. But, like, these are, like, weapons that we won't develop for 100, 200, 300 years, and there's a lot of them. So I know Hulk's powerful, but dude, you know what I mean? Like, damage, it should be doing damage, it should tear through stuff. As in, you know, Captain America able to block them with his shield. Yeah, it's a very special shield, but it's like huge amounts of destruction, apparently, you know? So there was just that, what Star Wars never hit anybody, Stormtrooper. There's that kind of Stormtrooper vibe where it doesn't really matter. They can't cannon fodder. As in, you know, if you run directly at them for like a mile and it's just them with cannons everywhere. If you're a character that can be killed, you're not going to get touched. And if you're Superman, you're going to get absolutely bombarded. But that's okay because you're Superman. You know, so it was a little bit like that. You know, they kept their heroes a little bit too safe, and that creates a lack of consequences as well.
It was like a highlight reel for the Avengers, wasn't it?
It was, and a brilliant one, to be fair, and an absolutely brilliant one. But yeah, just how absolutely badass they are. Stopping to have conversations and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's just it was. But that'd be me. I suppose it was a good ending. Vin.
My big what if probably would be maybe change the villain, not like change Loki, but change the secondary villain. Maybe like that dude that he was talking to a bit like before Thanos, the guy that played by Lexi Dennis. I would have liked to see more of him. Like he could have led the army, and then like Loki would have had a secondary villain to bounce off of. Because like their chemistry was really cool, their scenes are really cool. It's like pain. Like if when Thanos is through with you, you would wish for something as sweet as pain. Like that's fucking Hellraiser kind of like line.
Yeah, it is. I mean?
Yeah. I would have liked to see more of that dude.
And it sets up the big bad even more.
Yeah, exactly. Because it creates that link with like and shows you that kind of mentality that Thanos breeds and the people that he has in his company or whatever. I think like Loki, because they're dead set on humanizing him throughout the last sequence of the movie. You can kind of see it. Because of the humor kind of breeding into his scenes, away from the kind of maniacal, kind of genocidal maniac he was for the other 3/4 of the film. I think like if you had an out and out, is this something you always say, Noel? It's like just an out and out villain, no grey area, just a guy, a higher up minion of Thanos, something that's more of a kind of like a stronger kind of link to Thanos, and it just gives us like if he leads the army.
Darkseid has a bunch of them, like Granny Goodness and stuff like that, and they're just out and out. They're not nuanced at all. Yeah. Absolutely loyal to the even bigger bad. Yeah. But absolutely psychotic to everything
like a pure fundamentalist, like someone that's being bred through because Loki's on the fence.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, because Loki's still like there for himself. You want someone there for Thanos. So I just think like if we had someone that was invested in a slightly different way, and they can bleed Thanos into their world a bit more, and because it would be like, who is this dude? Like, you know, after, and you could actually kill a villain then, because all he kill is Chitauri. So you're not going to kill Loki because you're going to use him further on in Thor.
That guy, he would have been the perfect hive mind then.
Yeah,
Like he was the hive mind for that army.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
And to feed him in partially, like as a second, that's a great idea, dude. That's a really great idea.
And I just thought like the way Alexei Denisov played him, he was terrifying. Like it was just really creepy, and he kind of reminded me of the Mount of Sauron, at the end of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, where you see the Mount of Sauron come out of Mordor, and he's just like you can't see the upper half of his face. He's just his massive teeth, and he's just like he's the one that holds up Frodo's armor in the extended cut. When they turn and say for Frodo, that guy, he kind of reminded me of him, just like this weird kind of like automaton that's like so just like drained of whatever he used to be, and what he is now is completely at the whim of Thanos, and he was just like this perfect embodiment of Thanos, because Thanos doesn't really speak that much, if he even speaks at all in this movie. Like so, like I just thought
he says like a word or something, and that was just for some reason
my turn or something. Does he say that?
Something like that. It was I think 3 nights ago I watched this. Maybe so. Yeah, no, it's not a big thing. It is literally just like he exists in the universe. We have the rights to him. Thanos is coming. That's all it was. It was very much so that.
Yeah, I would have liked to seen the secondary villain like be more like more of a backbone. It's like what you said, Roman. Like have him be the reason that the army's going there. He leads the army. He brings them there. So it's kind of like you have to get through the army to get to him, kill him, and then shut the portal,
and then the whole thing will shut down. Dude. Yeah, it gives it a little bit more backbone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I just on Vinny's point, it's to agree with him. You remember this first Sherlock Holmes film that Robert Downey Jr. did?
Yeah.
And Moriarty was hinted at. He was like the man behind the curtain, the power behind the power. And you see his arm at one stage. He kind of shoots somebody from a carriage, but he kind of was built up like the absolute devil himself.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like you're thinking, God, to even see this man would be like Kaiser Sose or whatever, to look into the absolute eyes of madness. And then in the second film, like, Vinny's better with actors' names than me. I can't think of who played him, but Moriarty was in it, and it was like as great as he was, and he was excellent. But it was almost like, a human. You know what I mean? Like they hadn't laid enough groundwork. You know what I mean? Like they needed to build on him a little bit. It felt like he just arrived too quickly. So sometimes that person who's like, I can't, because what he'll do to me is much worse than anything you'll do to me. That character is getting built up and there's no actor. The guy isn't even casted. The guy they're talking about, you know what I mean? Like he's down the road somewhere. That's cool. When that's done well, that's just done. So that's really dark. And again, Kaiser Sose is always my go-to, because during that thing when they were talking about the backstory of Kaiser Sose, again, the devil himself. It's the devil himself walking the earth.
I love that line where he, like, have you all seen Usual Suspects before?
Oh yeah.
I love the line. Remember, and he turns the gun on his own family, and he's like, he'll show these men what a man of real will really is. And he turns his gun on kills his family, and then fucking kills his dudes.
Yeah, and there's just that dude like realizing all his leverage is gone, like, and big time, and not just that, like, you made me do that, so yeah, there's probably going to be a price for you as well, like. So that's it. So I do think building up your big bad. I do think that's fine.
Yeah, and you can. I just think you have that guy in a bit more. He's really kind of sinister, and you can kind of, like, he's so dark.
And you can kill him.
Loki.
Eventually, you can kill him. You don't have to keep him around really long term. You can kill him.
Kill him at the end of the movie. Kill him, and then you take Loki into custody. You know what I mean? And then you actually have real stakes and a villain that we have a face that you can actually kill, because he appears throughout the movie 2 or 3 times. Like, so it's not like we don't know who he is. When he leads that army in, it would make perfect sense. Like, it would make perfect sense, like, you know. So I just think, like, sometimes the main villain, if you're going to keep him around, you need a secondary villain to kill. And I just think that that's the missed opportunity for me when I look back at Avengers, because he was a really cool character. Alexei Denisov played him really, really well. Like, he was really, really creepy and shit. But like, so we get the fuck out here in a minute. I'm going to throw it to Roman first. What was the best thing for you about the Avengers experience? I'm so tired.
Dude, just seeing them all together on screen finally.
Yeah, it's simple, isn't it?
Just fucking seeing it all happen finally. You know, there was build up for so many years, and like the whole time you're like, it has to happen. Like, eventually it has to happen, and when it did, it didn't disappoint. So, like, I mean, that's the best thing.
That's simple and to the point.
Seeing them all together, man. Like, I can't. And there's nothing else that, like, really stands out as being, you know, the most obvious, but, like,
stand out.
Shit. Stand out. It's like, fuck. Spoke too much weird.
It was good, man. It was straight to the point, though. It was seeing them together. That was it.
I was losing it there for a second. I'll be back on. Hold on.
But yeah, so like, do you think like them all being seen together, like, do you mean like them all coming together as part of the story was the best thing about it, or do you,
no, actually seeing them fight,
shot?
like get the action in together when they're like fighting together, and you see that there's actual teamwork between these people that are fighting together, like that. Because in every superhero, like it's just a one-on-one fight, basically, pretty much when it comes to all the superhero films before. Like, so now it's definitely you're going to see a shitload of like cross fighting, like, and it takes a lot to put those kind of scenes together, and I think they kick ass. I really do. Watching them, it was great.
The combination scenes as well, like, you know, when you can see the combined powers, like Iron Man blasting his into Captain America.
Oh, he just flies down and he drops and he just hits his shield with the thing.
Yeah,
and he goes off, and then he flies right the fuck back off. Dude, you know, and things like that. It's like, you know, it's like playing a video game, and you just
be great if you got that wrong, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Iron Man just dips in, kills Captain America.
Like, yeah, that'd be like Homelander, just like cuts him in half, like. One of my favorite scenes in that as well was when Thor and the Hulk are taking out one of them Leviathans, where the Hulk and Thor, they clear all the Chitauri off its back, they drive like a spike into its back,
a spike in there,
and they take
out with a hammer.
They take out the Grand Central Station or something to take that out completely, like devastation. Nobody dies seemingly, like definitely thousands of people died, and and then they take out.
They're only Americans, so it doesn't really hit home.
Fucking hell, dude.
There's plenty of them.
I think we're gonna have to cut that. But yeah, no, I love that. And then at the end of the scene where the Hulk just fucking punches Thor, and he's just like, I fucking love that. Like the way it's just like, even in the big action sequences to capture.
I love when he's trying to pick up the hammer. That's the one thing he can't do. You know, he keeps trying to pick up the hammer, and he's
But so Baish, for you, what would be the one thing you change about the Avengers? Or sorry, no, did I ask you your what if?
Nice. Yeah, he asked the what if. Yeah.
So
what's the best thing about it?
Yeah, what's the best thing?
Keep it simple, go big. Anything you want.
The best thing about it is to piggyback off of Roman. So my thing was seeing on the big screen a group of heroes actually come together. So it wasn't a standalone. It wasn't two of them.
I also feel like they earned it
on the screen.
Didn't feel like they earned it. You know, I know like Hawkeye had his own thing, or Black Widow had appeared in Iron Man 2 and stuff. But it just when they arrived, you just felt like, yes, they've earned this.
Yeah, you felt that yes of like, all right, cool, they're there.
Yeah.
And everyone sits down. So for me, that was the best part of the movie. And like a little part B to it would probably be Loki. Seeing Loki finally come into his own of who he is. Yeah. That for me was like on par with like the best part.
Oh, man, I love some of Loki's dialogue's incredible, like burdened by glorious purpose. Like that's kind of his mantra through his character, like, you know, that he feels like that he needs to. He has this great destiny or some grand destiny that he's supposed to fulfill, and he can just never get it, and it just makes him so bitter. That iteration,
even if he does such fucked up shit too, and he just to get that, man, like
he'd sit on a throne to rule over the pile of ashes, that kind of thing. Like,
you know, I love that. Like, that's exactly
that's one thing I love about that iteration Loki, like where he's more of a genocidal maniac.
But that's it, you know, like having ants in your backyard. It's it's almost not. I always say this when we love horror so much. I always think the scariest thing is indifference. Like if someone's killing you because they're hating, or something in your head where you're kind of like, oh, I look out for this person, or look out for this, because you can look out for signing warnings that somebody has anger, somebody has this in them. But indifference is fucking terrifying.
What was his line? Does an ant have a quarrel with a man or something? It's like, you plan on stepping on us or something.
Yeah, you know, it's that whole like people, fucking chads like saying how that like lions don't about the opinions of sheep and stuff like that. And that's why I know more about science than any scientist because of that one expression.
Yeah, that's from the Rome TV series. That's a Mark Anthony line, I think. Is it? No?
Is it? Oh, I don't know. It's just something I'm seeing on the internet a lot.
It is. It's not Mark Anthony. Yeah.
Rome.
Was he a flat earther too?
No, man. Actually, man, that's the thing about Rome.
He might have been, right?
He might have been.
I don't know, because like they conquered so much of the world. They must have known.
I don't know, man. You can't see that fucking horizon.
It becomes opaque.
It's just a primordial swamp that it just oozes back into it or something. I don't know. I'm not a scientist, whatever. You say, well, but so what you call it? So Baish, the best thing about just like it's kind of like that's the whole thing, isn't it? Like apart from the villain himself, Tom Hiddleston, that like the finally getting to see the Avengers on screen is like the ensemble cast, something we never thought we'd actually see because we really see the fruits of Marvel's labor, the expanded universe come to life and really kind of bleed into one kind of the MCU. Like
the MCU, exactly. That was it.
And Noel, for you, I leaving stuff. Noel, you got to pick it up. Noel.
Well, sorry, was the question to me just what did I think was the best?
No, see, what I did was I finished my point. Jesus, fuck dude. This fucking guy.
I have no idea what just happened. I thought you were talking to Baish, and then you just kind of like give out to me.
No, you started.
It's like,
yeah, because like I finished my point with Baish, you pick it up next. This is how conversations work. This fucking guy.
Nobody told me that's how conversations work. I wish I had explained to me before I started doing a podcast.
70 times nearly.
I'm just going to take the question for what the best was for me, because that's just like a good starting point.
Yeah, I'm so tired.
Okay. So you know what I thought was, I actually just think the fact that they earned it, just everything about it, and I wasn't just seeing them all together. I felt like they earned it. I felt like you throw like all of a sudden you're seeing like the god of thunder, and you're seeing a guy who's imbued with like gamma radiation, and he can turn into this big green monster that's even stronger than, again, an actual Norse god. And you didn't feel ridiculous. You remember sitting in the cinema and looking at it going, this doesn't feel ridiculous. Don't get me wrong. You have to suspend your disbelief. But that's not something I haven't done before. Like, Avengers didn't start that. And then just sitting going, they did it. They built the world. I can see everybody in this world actually work. Just, it didn't, again, like imagine if Justice League just decided you got the rights and you went, right, Justice or you got the rights and you went Avengers. It would have felt like, no, there's two, I don't, like how and why it was and who's in charge. That's but I knew what Nick Fury did, and I knew what Black Widow was about, and Iron Man was well established, and Captain America was well established, and I knew just the fact that you kind of went, wow, that is a vision, because it's not just about making a Friday the 13th series or a Scream series or something. It's about, I'm going to make these, I'm going to have this director make these, we're bringing in this writer to make these, but guys, we all have to meet here, and they actually did it, and they did it without fucking it up. And when you really stand back and look at that, you have to think, fuck, that's impressive.
Yeah, and
that was just fucking impressive.
And it was the success of the Phase One movies. Like, that's just like, it's gone on to like be like, what, 20 odd movies. You got TV series, you got animated shows, all these kind of jobs. You got multiverse.
At this point, it's probably best measured in hours.
Yeah,
like how many hours have they got out there? Because it's in TV show formats, it's in animation format, it's in movie formats.
What I just mean is like this is the ramifications of the success of Phase One before we even went into the broader universe, was that everybody and anybody tried their extended universe for the next 4 or 5 years. Like that was the major ramification, wasn't it? Like Universal traded, DCU traded. It's like all these different people were like, okay, how can we expand our universes? How can we have spin-offs? How can we milk franchises in the same way that the MCU created, but not realizing that the reason the MCU is so successful is that it's many franchises wrapped up under one banner. Like, it's very easy to expand an MCU when you have 30 odd characters, but when you have like a Fast and Furious, like it barely deserves a franchise in the first place, and you're coming at me with spin-offs. Come on, guys, really?
Yeah.
Like, come
that's
on,
what
guys.
I mean. Yeah, just that's it. Just
it's a rock.
That's just like there's almost that sense of
spin-off.
Yeah, that's it. Because of The Rock and Vin Diesel, like it because. You know what I mean?
Rock got
you know what I mean? Like, so I just think like
I was surprised like The Rock does a spin off and goes, it's about friends. just a little bit, just tweak it a little bit. I'm stronger because of my friends. Yeah. No, but it's just, for me, it was earned. That's it. Yeah. I can put it in 2 words: earned. You, Vin, and we can spin it.
Yeah, no, like they definitely earned it, but like for me, I just thought like the ramifications of the success of Phase One, even though it's very positive for Marvel in an isolated kind of instance, but outwardly in how the rest of cinema was affected for especially the next 5 or 6 years afterwards, going after the Avengers movie, like when you see all these failed attempts at like spin-offs and expanded universes, and a lot of people delving into these comic book kind of movies or whatever that weren't really like. I know they just didn't give him like the same love and affection that Marvel did, and they just kind of missed the point of how Marvel built their universe, and just like the positive nature of how Marvel built their universe was kind of the point that was missed. for the next 5 years. And it's like, even though it was very positive for Marvel how they did it and the way they kind of executed their plan, I just thought it had a really negative effect on like how Warner Brothers built their universe. Because if there wasn't that success of the Avengers, like if the Avengers, even though obviously it was always going to be successful, but I'm just saying the way it was successful, that over $1 billion or whatever.
Okay.
And and then like instead of seeing a Man of Steel 2, instead of seeing a solo Batman movie, instead of seeing Aquaman and Wonder Woman.
Yeah. But this is what's best about it. This is your negative, is it?
No. I just mean like I'm just kind of following on your point that like even though it was successful for Marvel, that then there was a negative aspect of having an expanded universe be so successful.
That's because people who only that's because people who don't care. Like, there's these douchey producers who said that we need to do that, make that, do that. Yeah. Okay. Well, I suppose they started in 2002. They had this idea that in 2007 they were going, no. I don't feel like you're listening to me. That's it. Yeah.
My best for the whole thing would have been like the way they incorporated each other's power sets during the battle sequences, kind of picking up on Roman said as well. It's like just the combinations, like, and the Hulk's entry as well was fucking awesome. Like, how what's your secret? My secret. Do you want to know what my secret is? I'm always angry. That's iconic unto itself. Even
and it wasn't delivered douchey. Do you remember? He just kind of went, I'm always angry. It wasn't like he wasn't like flick collar, put on a pair of sunglasses kind of thing. It was. Actually, he just seemed like this dude, like just kind of went, I'm always like,
he just comes putting back on that motorcycle. Like,
it's perfect.
Throws a cigarette, everything behind him blows up,
Mark Ruffalo shows that like it's actually the man that makes the monster because of the transformations that you need, like the way he carries it himself into the role because of mocap. I just think like the Hulk's big arrival was one of my favorite parts. Maybe my favorite part, because just to try to differentiate himself from what you've said yourselves, that like the arrival, the iconic line. But like if Iron Man wasn't there, he would have killed all the Avengers. Like all of them would have died because like he just punches that shit in the fucking face and it starts like what is like when a truck jackknife. Like a kind of jackknives, and it's like about to crush everyone, like half of Manhattan to death. Like, you know what I mean? But apart from that was awesome. But I love the.
You know my secret, Cap? I'll tell you, could you start moving to the right just a little bit there? Yeah, no, just a bit more, just a bit more. I'm always angry. No, a bit more, just a bit more. It wouldn't have been as cool.
Because like he's a genius. He's just like gauging the fucking physics of it all. I think as when I grew up in a lot of the Bill Bixby TV series, the Lou Ferrigno iteration, the Hulk, and then I went to see the Eric Bana stuff, and it was very disappointing with the Ed Norton stuff. And this is to really see the Hulk how I always envisaged him, and then seeing him in the fucking cartoons growing up and images in the comic book, this hulking behemoth was unstoppable, this unstoppable force of nature, and that's kind of why he was in the Battle of New York, even though he definitely killed thousands of people. But whatever, we just got past that.
How many times did he run through buildings?
Like literally run through,
right through
the middle of a building, like taking out all the support beams, like an office full of workers, like whatever. No, but it was really cool how he arrived. After that, devastation. Probably killed even more people than Loki and it's just how he combined, but whatever. But that's my best. So Noel, what's your worst? And then we jump to Roman, then Baish, and then me, and we get.
Okay, worst. I don't know. I feel like I know it's old hat as we talked about for quite a while, but worst, I guess, was inconsistent tone, and not so that we're not beating a dead horse. I'm just going to leave it at that. Inconsistent tone, as in just again everything that Baish explained it better than I do, so I'm just going to leave it alone. It's just that sometimes it was like, what are the stakes here? Like we got it. It was very sad when Coulson died, but all these people are dying. I mean, this is a horror show.
Two people have died before Coulson.
Yeah, well, there you go. So I think just that's it. Inconsistent tone. Man. I'll keep it simple.
Yeah, and Roman.
Yeah, no, I don't think Coulson should have died.
Really?
That's one thing I didn't like, dude. I don't think it really brought anything.
I think Marvel agreed with you. They brought him back.
They had, yeah, right. But I'm just like, I don't know. I wish they could have done it another way. That wasn't the catalyst for them to all get together, because it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth to lose Coulson as a character the way they did for that. Oh, just to push them to go do what they're going to go do anyways. Because they were all going to go do it anyways.
Yeah, because the Battle of New York should have been the call to action, the attack on New York itself.
Exactly.
Or even the
that's a good point. The attack on New York, if that had gravity, you'd be like, my God, they're Every second we spend talking
Yeah.
is 10 deaths, is
Or
11
that
deaths.
they're
Like, that's
dying, yeah. Uh-huh.
So just get to it, yeah. No, it's fair.
Yeah,
It's fair.
Yeah, and I'm the same with you because Clark Gregg's portrayal of Agent Coulson is one of the funniest things.
Coulson was great, man, and like he was great because he was just a cameo character for every spot.
Yeah,
and so he could have still been everywhere, and he was phenomenal in that spot. So I don't think that.
But he was obvious in one sense
that he didn't need to die. As well. Yeah.
He's got enough about him that he's that means something. But like Nick Fury holds the shit show together, and everybody else is a literal Avenger. So he just kind of became this obvious storytelling narrative.
Yeah,
like when they killed off Buffy's mother in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Okay, in 1998 or some shit, like, you know, like, I'm sorry, but I've seen. Remember, I just ran out. You know, I give you 20 years. I give you 21, 22 years, and I'm talking about. You know?
I give you a single score of years.
Yeah, exactly. I was saying, like, you're talking about a time when everyone didn't know that M. Shylem just meant one trick ponies. You know what I mean? Like, a long time ago.
Yeah.
But, sorry, Baish.
There not being stakes. That was my big thing, because there was, even at the end of the movie, it was like, oh, you guys destroyed everything, but we're here to avenge.
Yeah. What's the food? What did they go get?
It was shawarma.
Shawarma.
Right down the street. It was a block away from where they're fighting, and it's open. That doesn't say it at all in a nutshell.
This dude's entire family just died in an apartment block. Like,
yeah.
The Avengers want shawarma, so I'm here.
Yeah, but that was the tone. That was the tone that carried forward.
Yeah.
Of no real stakes. Everything's happy at the end. There's some sad parts in between.
Yeah.
But at the end, everyone hugs.
Yeah.
And it's over.
Yeah.
So, like, for me, that to me was perfect because that was the way they were going with everything after that.
Yeah.
But for that movie, not having any stakes was just like, all right, cool. Now Iron Man and Cap and Thor are best friends, and Eric Bana, or not Eric Bana, but
Bruce
Ruffalo and them too. Oh, they're all awesome together, and it just didn't make any sense to me.
It makes your putties kind of reference work even better on even another angle, because they just show up and sure enough they do some shit, but they get the shit kicked out of them and nobody seems to care afterwards. You know what I mean? Like that was it. It's just on a much bigger scale, like much bigger budget.
Yeah, like, because it's technically like the Battle of New York is supposed to be ground zero for a genocidal attack on humanity. And they're just let's go chill out and have shawarma afterwards.
Don't even know what it is.
Yeah, it's like, are we going to help with the cleanup? Are we going to? I was like, what cleanup?
Well, no, dude, it's like the lady in the background sweeping because, you know, their shit's all fucked up.
Right?
Anyways, dude, and they're just
the city's been destroyed,
You know what I mean?
All right, what about you, Vin? And this should be big.
My worst would be, I think it was an excellent opportunity for Marvel to use one of their stable of secondary villains to actually introduce us, apart from even if you want to keep Alessi Denisov's character, this is the exact same. There's so many villains they introduced Tyrone, Accuser, and all these later on.
Somebody from the one of the back order, maybe, or something.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That.
Like Proxima Midnight, or someone that would appear later on, because she talks. Isn't Proxima Midnight's the female one where she talks a lot, a good bit in Infinity War. So you could actually have had her there even. Like, I just think, like, if you're going to have a villain, like, I know I don't want to harken too back on what I said earlier, but if you're going to have a villain that you're going to keep alive, you need someone that you're going to kill. And I think it was just an excellent opportunity for Marvel to kind of dust off someone that was more of a secondary villain, send him in there, and even if you wanted to keep Alexei Denisov alive. But I just think there's so many villains that they haven't used yet, or that they've used poorly, and you can kind of ground them a bit more in your universe if you just include them a bit earlier on in time. And I just think sometimes Marvel missed out on that because of the whole Loki of it all. There was just so dead set on pushing Loki as a villain, the central antagonist for the whole MCU. So, and I just think people just became so enamored with Loki that he became an anti-hero afterwards. So I just think there wasn't enough evil in the villains for me. I think that was my worst about the Avengers looking back on it, because
it's a good simple way of putting it. Yeah.
So that's it for me. So any of you motherfuckers have anything else to say before we get the fuck out of here?
Jesus, no, I've talked to you cunts enough today.
I just got to say
Sexy.
sparkly Batman.
Imagine if I titled the episode "Sparkly Batman," said nothing about it.
Sparkly Stalin Batman.
Horrible. Horrible.
All right, boys.
Boys.
I'm so tired. So before we get the fuck out of here, I just want to say thanks, Baish, for coming on. Thanks, Roman, for coming on. Thanks, Noel.
Baish from Return of the Critics.
So, boys, plug your shit.
Roman
And
from
get the
Mr.
fuck out of here.
Goodbeer. Good friends of our podcast, and they're absolutely excellent podcasts in their own right. Thank you so much for being here with us, guys.
Yeah, and you'll find them on Spotify.
You can find them anywhere where you don't even deserve them. So just be glad.
All right, motherfuckers. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks.
Really appreciate it. So this was Dark Side of the Moon. That was the Avengers. That was Roman, Noel, Baish. I'm Vinny. See you all next time, motherfuckers. Peace.
Peace.